69.8% of Americans have sexual fantasies because they are curious about different sensations and sexual experiences, at least according to a survey of over 4,000 Americans discussed in Psychology Today. Besides the most common reason being to experience sexual arousal, participants also reported having sexual fantasies to meet unfulfilled sexual needs, escape reality for a while, or express or fulfill a socially taboo sexual desire. But what exactly makes a sexual desire taboo? You may be surprised to discover that most of what society views as taboo sexual fantasies can be quite common. Here are some seemingly taboo sexual fantasies that are actually common. Domination and submission. To be dominated, or to dominate, is more common of a sexual fantasy than you might think. Social psychologist Justin Liller surveyed 4,000 Americans and found that 93% of women and 81% of men had fantasized about being dominated, while 85% of men and 76% of women fantasized about being sexually dominant. Ever heard of BDSM? It stands for bondage, discipline, domination, submission, sadism, and masochism. There's a psychological component that is often involved in BDSM. Many, for example, like psychological roleplay where an exchange of power is often present. There's a wide range of what could go on during this type of fantasy. As an article in Glamour explains, it can be something as subtle as a trusted partner holding you down by the wrists while they kiss you, all the way up to extreme BDSM involving pain, humiliation, or whatever else your kinky heart desires. While 65% of people who identify as women were found to desire being dominated, according to one study published in the Journal of Sexual Medicine, 46% of people who identify as women admit to having had a fantasy where they dominated someone else. However, there is something to note about the study. The Washington Post described it as those who volunteer to participate in sex studies tend to be more sexually experienced. Or, as the authors put it, this sample was not representative of the general population. The popularity of 50 Shades of Grey does make you wonder, if the books are selling off the shelves, how popular can it be? According to author and certified sex coach Gigi Engel, the idea of being sexually submissive can be arousing to people who are always in control outside of the bedroom, says Engel. And the idea of being in control can be hot due to the taboo nature of sex and a sense of authority. Bondage. Part of the BDSM category, bondage is also thought of as taboo but has actually been found to be a common sexual fantasy among many individuals. Educator and sexologist Midori explains that bondage might enhance the feeling of power given and taken in dominance and submission play. She goes on and explains that being physically restrained or tied with robe cuffs or even a necktie can provide someone with this fantasy a total bodily and mental release from responsibility. Clear consent and learning how to play out this fantasy safely are always necessary when taking this desire into the real world with a partner. Exhibitionism. Some individuals may fantasize about stripping in front of an audience, having sex on camera, or masturbating in front of someone else, a group, or their partner. These fantasies can be about showing off or getting caught. A sex-certified sex therapist, Indigo Stray Konga, defines exhibitionism as when a person experiences sexual excitation from the fantasy of being observed naked or engaged in sexual activity, or from actually being observed while naked or engaged in sexual activity. St. Konga explains that healthy exhibitionism is a sex-positive celebration of the erotic and should not be confused with exhibitionistic disorder. She also notes that it's an extremely common fantasy. NYU professor and sexpert Zarelova describes the findings of a 2015 study published in the Journal of Sexual Medicine. The study found that 66% of men and 50% of women fantasize about having sex openly in a public place, and 82% of both genders fantasize about having sex in an unusual place, including offices, public toilets, etc. Most of us have at least a little bit of an exhibitionist streak in us, she explains. This, like anything else in psychology, exists on a spectrum, and it is perfectly normal and healthy. Is it getting hot in here or is it just me? If you're finding this video informative so far, give it a like and comment down below. Group sex. A sexual fantasy involving more than one other partner is actually pretty common. A study published in the journal Personality and Individual Differences had 788 British adults across 4 age groups take a nationwide quota poll. They found that men were more likely to fantasize about having sex with more than one person, often with anonymous partners. For women, the study states that, as a proportion of total fantasy output, women were more likely than men to fantasize about same-sex and famous partners. Whether it's a threesome or an orgy, sexual fantasies involving multiple partners seem to be quite common. A 2017 study published in Archives of Sexual Behavior and discussed in an article from Insider found that out of 274 Canadian university undergrads, 64% of them revealed that they'd had interest in multi-partner sex. With all of these sexual fantasies often being viewed as taboo, it might provide some individuals relief to know that they can be quite common. Certified sex coach Gigi Engel explains that these erotic thoughts are often completely normal. According to Engel, the more we talk about sexual fantasy and normalize the conversation, the less we'll beat ourselves up for having twisty, sexual, steamy thoughts. So what do you think of these common sexual fantasies? Did you learn something new? Are you surprised some of these are more common than you once thought? Feel free to leave a comment down below. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to click the like button and share it with a friend or partner. Subscribe to Boosty 2 and hit the notification bell icon for more content like this. As always, thank you for watching.